us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. Come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians.
Governments don't live together, people live together. Governments, you don't always get a fair word or a fair fight. Well, I've come here to give you either one, or get either one from you.
That is totally taken out of context.
Well, not really.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up,
T-minus 1 minute.
live out the true meaning of its creed.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
T-minus 50 seconds.
I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Every dollar released from taxation
T-minus 40 seconds.
that is spent or invested will help create a new job.
Chivalry is dead, and women killed it.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines.
T-minus 20 seconds.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground and in the streets.
10, 9,
We shall fight
8,
in the hills.
6,
We shall never surrender!
3, 2, 1, 0.
And wait. There you go. All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, is the sound on? I can't hear myself.
It's on.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey everybody.
And we got all kinds of cool stuff going on today. Cody, tell me, you wanted to tell me about Karen.
Yes.
And I've been refusing to look it up and Google it ever since you mentioned it earlier.
Well, this is an ongoing controversy. Came to a bit of a head, I guess you would say, in the last few days. So that'd be fun to talk about. Because, of course, we saw the title. We're going to a little game. I'm going to see how long we can go without mentioning current event. And anyway, so this is an idea, and I'll get to for a while. This has been bothering certain individuals for a while, but this notion of using the word Karen as a substitute for a particular kind of individual, it's found a nice substitute for like when you the kind of like, can I speak to your manager jokes?
Yeah.
For those kind of people. However, certain individuals are not taking this very well. So I just want to walk through first of all.
Yeah, and let me guess, they're all the Karens of Twitter.
That's kind of the bitter irony,
Friends
right?
of journalism, I see this as basically a Twitter group of a bunch of Gen X, white, liberal, nor'eastern, wannabe journos, okay, who really hate the fact that they are not everything they wish they were, that is embodied by the term Karen, and they've been called Karen a million times, and the self-loathing is now turning outward, and they're doing what they do best, demanding that big tech companies
like I said,
outlaw the word.
Exactly. It got to the point where they were, but this is what I wanted to go to, for some more context, because the Karens are the one. By the way, I have to admit, this is a reporter, Yashar Ali. I'm probably pronounced the name wrong too. Anyway, though, he posted his exchanges. Whenever he mentions the thing about Karens, he gets something in his comments. But I wanted to, I guess, if I'm going to represent the Karens here as their defense, there's an interesting point made in here I want to walk us through. So,
okay.
Alleged text messages of Charlie. He says he receives these text messages every time he posts stuff about Karen memes. By posting your Karen meme post, you just made it worse. You did. Read the comments. I'll explain how I've never heard about the stupidity before, which means with every post or retweet, you are responsible for either making innocent people feel targeted or others exponentially powerful and spreading what you pretend to be sensitive about. And actually, you are mocking. I'm not kidding. My personal disappointment in you is at its highest level. I would never spread comments on your name, religion, nationality ever. Take one innocent tweet to start. Think, Ali, think. And she got him later with a broken heart. Now, this is where it gets interesting. She says, I got threatened to be set on flames today because of my name. And you think this is a joke. Hold on. She says, you have 600,000 followers, so I guess the money you make supersedes your morals. You're doing it for the click. It's on your hands now, blood emoji. Oh, sorry, that was below. Let me post it, guys. It's on your hands now, blood emoji. In reference to, I guess, her blood being on his hands. So that sounds a little bit...
This is getting intense.
A little bit ridiculous, right? But
yeah,
listen to this, though. This is the thing. There's some dumb stuff in here. But that last line's interesting. She says, so why does the Karen thing bother you so much? White people can't be offended? Yeah, it's stupid to be offended by anything, but still, people can feel how they'd like. That's always one of those interesting things I always wonder with. Like, even if it's dumb, because I feel bad when I'm like, I always feel bad for people when I'm like kind of like, you know, like making fun of them. But there's one point where it's like, yeah, it's stupid. Like, demanding Twitter ban Karen because it's like the N-word is
wow. What about the women who are legitimately
no one
named
says the
Karen?
K-word, right? Yeah, well, exactly. But here's the funny thing. There is a little bit...
I have an Aunt Karen.
But there is a shred of legitimacy, right? To like, even if it's irrational, that thing bothers me. And that's how I feel. That's a real thing. And in a lot of instances... Maybe a little bit less irrational, but in a lot of instances, people do accept that and say, "Hey, I don't get it, but if it bothers you, whatever. I'm not gonna fight you on it." Now, I think the absurdity of this one is why, but I don't know. I thought it was an interesting defense.
You know, do you think it'll gain any traction, Cody?
Well, in what sense? I don't think.
Do you think they'll get away with it? I mean, Twitter is odd in what complaints they choose to field and which ones they don't. And we know they're wildly biased. Okay. I mean, we completely exposed that a year and a half ago in the YouTube Yubiverse. Is that a word? The Yubiverse. Oh. I mean, come on. There was the infamous Tim Pool and Joe Rogan with Jack Dorsey and his
Twitter,
lady podcast.
Twitter did like they have a certain, like I guess bias or like they do things a certain way. It's like I don't know. I guess it feels like bias depending on where you're sitting. But to me, it's like there's some stuff I know for a fact. You're gonna put that on Twitter? No way, no how. But there's some stuff where I'm just kind of like, yeah, Twitter allows that. I don't know why. You're allowed to threaten to set Karen on fire on Twitter. You really are.
Yeah.
Like, don't ask me what that bias is.
Do you
but
think
no,
they'll get away with it, though?
I 1000% believe this person when someone says that she got threatened to be set on flames today because of her name. Because you're allowed to do that. I don't know, man. That's the rules of the platform. There's some platforms you're allowed to say some things, you're not allowed to say others. Is it right or wrong? I don't know. Probably not good. I don't like it. But I don't know. What do you think about? Because I don't agree that anyone...
Like, my leukemia is called the Philadelphia chromosome. I mean, you don't see, like, the city of Philadelphia lobbying to have, the word Philadelphia not allowed to be used on Twitter because it's negatively connotated.
I don't think negative connotation is the...
I mean, Karen, so what?
There's
it
a
embodies...
lot of words with negative connotation.
Okay, actually, if you look up Karen on the Urban Dictionary, I don't have it right now, but I remember the first term I looked it up in... the Urban Dictionary, I remember it said and hides her racism, behind slogans like "My best friend is black." You know what I'm saying? I think that was the definition the Urban Dictionary said of the term Karen, and they specifically targeted. It said like a Gen Xer that acts just as badly as a boomer. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there are a bunch of really, really hilarious definitions that I was reading. But I just remember that was like the number one definition. And so I'm just wondering, like, do you think it'll go somewhere? Is that going to be like the new thing we're not allowed to say?
No. But evidenced by 233,000 people have voted in this Twitter poll at 90. No, it's ridiculous. No. I just thought it was funny. It was one of those things where at the surface level, I read it and I laugh. No, I don't think Karen is a sexist and racist slur. You know what the difference is?
Also,
like I said, you don't have to hyphenate K words when you say Karen. That's how you can tell it's not on the same level. It's always hilarious to me when someone says, like, this word that I'm proudly saying in public is just like this word I have to refer to by its starting letter because it's just ridiculous.
Well,
but anyway,
also, we have to say that, I mean, the N-word has a historical bias behind it.
My point, was exactly.
The K word
being,
completely
there
lacks.
There is no K word, okay? It's Karen.
Well, we can't say the P word. You can't say polygamist about Mormons. No, Mormons get jokingly called polygamists all the time. So I demand that Twitter takes it down and quit calling me the P word.
I'll tell you what, you guys got to get off Twitter if polygamist the worst word you hear about Mormons. Like, thank God you aren't on Twitter more than that. The worst you hear is polygamist. I think a much better words for you people than that.
For you people.
But no, I just...
what do you people say about my people?
I just thought it was interesting because in any situation like this, I always do think it's an interesting thing. Because even though it's like, from where I'm sitting, I mean, that's absurd and stupid. It's like Karen's a racist slur. I think racist is funny. Maybe sexist, but racist, even sex is kind of weird. However, there is people that legitimately get bothered by this. Are we just to say, oh, to hell with them, they're dumb? I don't know. It's weird.
I thought it was generational. I never got the insinuation that it had to be a white chick. I always just thought it was like a generational thing. Just a stupid Gen Xer.
No, you know what? That's why...
I always thought it was a generational thing.
No, it's not what it is.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little bit, but not really. It's just like it's
Is that just me being far too benefit of the doubt?
I think you're putting way too much weight into those random definitions you pulled up off Urban Dictionary. No, it's more like I said.
This is how we connect with the young.
Karen can
this is how we elder millennials connect. Urban Dictionary.
You use "we" a little bit more deliberately there, but no, I would. It's the bigger thing is it's kind of like whatever. If you like I said, I think it's a great way to describe the type of person who's like can I speak to your manager? Like a female with a. I don't know, there's a word like self-important, condescending. The kind of person
self-important.
The kind of person who gets upset and demands that you have to ban that word off Twitter because how dare you comment. But again, I don't know. We have a little longer talking about it, the side tangent, but that it's just one of those moments where when when Karen says that this journalist's blood is on his hands, yeah, I kind of bristle. But when they say this and they say, look, people can feel how they like. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where I or anyone else would say, no, they can't. Like hell they can.
Yeah.
Like hell you could be bothered. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird to say, no, you aren't. However, I do say the line kind of gets drawn where I'm not going to change my language about it. I might think twice, though, about needlessly. If someone pisses me off, all right, Karen, right? But I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where now when it's on the borderline, I'd err because, I don't know, lots of stuff like that. Same time, it's ridiculous and goofy, but every now and then I kind of get caught off guard by something like that. And I'm just like, weird.
So look at this.
Again, the blood on my hands might be the funniest thing I've seen today.
The Chupacabra.
My blood is on your hands. That's
Chupacabra 22 says, I find it interesting that the emotional/mental, quote, abuse, end quote, that the Karen meme seems to have more outrage than the physical Kyle punching a hole in drywall meme. Ooh, I don't know the Kyle punching a hole in drywall.
Well, okay, I'll
meme.
show you the differences. The difference between those two memes is this. Where is it? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. Like I don't think people.
Well, while you're finding it, can I
don't
read some
get-
other quotes or read some other
Oh,
comments?
please. Yeah.
I was gonna say Eco Thunderbolt says I like how Cody and Cardinal always dress like they're in opposite seasons. That's partially true. I just have more fat because Cody works out like cray. You know what I'm
Not
saying?
anymore. Not since nothing happened. Hold on. We're talking about
Cody has
other
family
stuff.
members who are personal trainers who will mock him if he doesn't have a six pack. So he feels that he has to. Okay, so that's a little bit of an overstatement. But you do have family members who are personal trainers, and there's an ethos of health in his family that may not exist in mine. So I just have a little bit more fat that keeps me warm. I got the warm winter coat, but I'm still working. So you know what I'm saying? Let me see here. We got another one. It's DVJ461 says, if you guys do the conspiracy channel, please talk about the JFK thing. LOL. Just watch the movie. Which one? I think he means JFK made in 1993, if I'm not mistaken, or 1992. And
Talking about a zeitgeist.
no, not Zeitgeist. The
Remember
JFK
that?
movie with Kevin
Zeitgeist
Costner.
is kind of like Zeitgeist.
That was a YouTube movie, right? Wasn't
Nah,
Zeitgeist a YouTube film?
It was on the. I think that really does feel like one of the big first. Not the first. That was one of the earlier kind of like. I feel like with the internet, things have different blooms, so different seasons.
Yeah, it was one of the first big internet
That was one of the big
movies.
blooming seasons for conspiracy theories. I think that movie. If people haven't seen the film Zeitgeist, the documentary. It's about a few things. 9/11 is an inside job. Jesus isn't real. And what was the other one? Jesus isn't real now. And I think the global economy is going to collapse. 9/11 was an inside job, and atheism became a humongous rising trend on YouTube for years after that. I think there's so many. God, who was it? There was somebody. I was surprised. I was listening or reading, and it was like, what was one of your biggest influences? I forgot who it was. And someone just like someone I did not think of as like a conspiratorial person. Just straight up was like, oh, I watched the Zeitgeist documentary. It really got me into this, and I was like, what? Anyway, to get back to the thing, the difference between the Karen meme and I guess you'd call it the Kyle meme. The difference between like. For example, using that's one of my favorite memes. Whenever just posting the hole, the picture with the hole in the wall and something like that. I think the reason why is for whatever reason, I don't know. I feel I'll admit I remember I punched a hole in my wall once because the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team I'm not even that big of a fan of, blew a big lead to the Dallas Mavericks because the Dallas Mavericks beat the Lakers that season, I think, and I was upset. So I punched a hole in my wall, and I was like 19 or something. So, I think that's the difference. There's way more people that get defensive about that. I don't know, a lot of guys seem much more open to just be like, nah, yeah, I punched a hole in a wall. What the hell? As opposed to defensive about it. Like, nah, it's real. It is what it is. So, I don't know. I think that it took me a while to dig up this tweet from back when Yang dropped out, but. That's why I think that's the difference. That's why some people some people think the Karen meme's offensive. You don't really hear that being brought up so much for the Kyle meme, I guess. I think because the meme of guys punching holes in walls is just not even a meme. Like I said, I literally remember doing it. Like a lot of people punch holes in walls, so I don't know. I feel like it's that's just my personal stance.
Do you want to talk about your feelings, Cody?
My personal stance. No, I told you exactly what happened. I was mad that I was like 19 years old. And
how did that make you feel?
I remember it. I remember the Oklahoma City Thunder had like a 20-point lead, I think, or like a 17-point lead, and this was way back when they had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and they were like high-fiving and dancing, and it was like the third. I think it was like halftime, third quarter, and I was like, if they're partying around 15, they blow this. I'm gonna be so mad.
Yeah,
I forgot who scored. But I remember when the Mavericks took the lead, I got really mad and I just punched the wall. So I think that's the thing. I have no problem explaining that to you. I think a lot of people you would call a Karen wouldn't just sit here and gladly recount tales of berating an employee at Lowe's because she wanted to return something you couldn't return. You know what I mean? I think that's the difference. That's just my take on it. I just thought it was funny you brought that up.
So we got some other comments here that I was wondering if what's it called? If you could speak to. Dad Isn't Mad asked, did you guys hear about Rose McGowan going full Karen on Alyssa Milano?
I can start trying to pull some of that stuff up right now. Yes. Well,
this is called full Karen.
Alyssa Milano.
Not a partial Karen. It's like in wrestling where you have the full Nelson versus the half Nelson. No, sorry. Half Nelson versus the full Nelson. So there's the full Karen versus the half Karen. Okay. And we also have a request for P90X and a Cody strip stream.
Hold on one second.
I'm offended nobody asked for a Cardin strip stream.
Just to go back to the previous picture. That was not a picture of me punching a hole in the wall. I guess I should have explained that better. That's actually like a meme that goes around a lot on the internet, where people will post that specific picture of the hole in the wall and say, "I just found out X. I just found out Y. I just found out X." I think that's just I just want to highlight that. That was not documented photographic proof of the hole I punched in my wall years back. That is just a meme that goes around. Also, Carton, we got a question for you. That says, Adam Duffy, Joe Super Chat. It says, Carton, did you like the conference? How was your
hashtag PSPLDS. Hey, maybe we get that hashtag trending. Do I have any other brothers and sisters in the chat? I've never actually asked how many Mormons are in the PSP army. You know what I'm saying? That'd be kind of cool. Can the chat just let me know if there's any other Mormons out there? You know, let me see. Carden, did you like conference? Yes, I did. But I also did not. I confess, it's boring to me. And I struggle to watch all of the sessions. Cody, just so you know, twice a year, us, the chosen people of God, also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a.k.a. Mormons. The better ones, shall we say, Cody. Anyway, we have this conference that's televised. And, dude, it's based off of, like, these 4 sessions that they would have in, like, the 1800s. So there's a Saturday morning session, a Saturday evening session, a Sunday morning session, a Saturday afternoon session. And they're both 2 hours. It's straight up 8 hours of church that we go to, like, twice a year, where we watch talks by a bunch of boomers, right? And some of them are really cool and have led awesome lives. Like there's this guy, Uchtdorf, who's like a plane pilot who has awesome analogies. And some of these other people are like 80-year-old librarians, dude, and they straight up put you to sleep. So when I was a kid, my family so did not participate in Saturday conference that I didn't even know it existed until I went to college at BYU. And like, it was like conference Saturday. I was going out to play basketball and everybody was like in nice church clothes getting ready to go to conference. They're like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going to go play basketball. And they're like, dude, it's conference. I'm like, yeah, but it's Saturday. And like, yeah, there's conference on Saturday too, bozo. So I was like, oh crap. So anyway, I like it a lot, but I prefer the highlights. That's what I should say. It's kind of like watching the World Series. I don't know if I want to sit through all 7 games, but I will definitely watch the final game with my friends and watch the highlight.
No, you won't.
No, come on, man.
Who won the World Series last year?
Who won the weird?
Who won the World Series? Sorry,
no, Dodgers were in it, but they lost.
No, they weren't.
Dodgers
didn't even get close to the
No,
World
they
Series
didn't. Sorry,
this year.
no. It was the year before that. Dodgers were in it.
Oh yeah,
because I got the hat because I was at the game. I got tickets to that. No, last year it was the Diamondbacks and they cheated.
Not the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks did beat the New York Yankees in 2001. That was the dramatic series. That won 7 games.
Okay. So anyway, Marion H says, LOL, thanks for the clarification. I wonder what she's talking about. But anyway, Carden, it's because you're taking people who respect your relationship with the Shadow. Rock on. Yeah, Brittany, the Shadow is gorgeous. Let me see. Mark Garrett says Calvinist. Oh, that's funny. Derail to these says,
my friends is a Calvinist. You know, shout out to Calvin.
Yeah, dude.
No,
what up, John
hold on.
Calvin?
I walk it back. I apologize. I was thinking about Luther. One of my friends is a Lutheran. I think shout out to Martin Luther. I thought that's a pretty badass move, right? Saying, I got a gripe with the church. I'm going to write it all down and nail it to the door. Sorry, Calvinists. Can't speak much to y'all, but that's a very badass move. Now, I believe Martin Luther has some other views he expressed that were a bit more, I don't know, a bit less modern than his theses. But I don't know. Boys, that's kind of a BA move in history, you know?
Yeah.
Like the church is all powerful. You just walk up and nail that bitch in the door. Like, hey, these are all the problems I have with you guys. It's almost like like Festivus.
Hey, did you see that meme? Did I send you that meme? The Martin Luther meme, where it showed at the top. It was a total boomer meme because it had the white letters with the 2 pictures.
Sorry, please don't explain it.
Okay,
send it to me and I'll show it. Please.
Well, it was pretty funny. I gotta explain it. It just showed a hand holding the rosary. The Catholic Church had released an e-rosary that you could pray the rosary with an app on your iPhone.
I did see that, yeah.
And then the bottom was Martin Luther pointing to the 95 Theses, especially the indulgences. He says, I will do it again. It was actually pretty funny. So anyway, Derail to the C says, I'm an elder brother, Carden BT Dubs. Is your name spelled with an I or an O? It's with an O. And Dad Isn't Mad points out that Mormon and Jew having a channel claiming they're the chosen people of God. Actually, it's even better than that. Half Jewish, half Catholic.
No, I'm not.
So, well, you're really kind of in a mix of neither, but I don't know. It is kind of fun. I take the Dad Isn't Mad thing. You know what I'm saying? Then Trev Third asked if we had seen the Mike Tyson and David Blaine podcast. You know what I'm saying? And
not yet. However, Mike Tyson's one-man show, if you've never seen that, it's absolutely fascinating and awesome. It's great.
Really?
I highly recommend it. I definitely want to see it because Mike Tyson, he's definitely one of those people that I'll not always, but if I see Tyson on something, I might click on it. He's very charismatic fellow. I like watching him talk.
You do? You know, so I'm curious. Some people haven't, let him live down his RAPE charges. You know what I'm saying?
Tyson?
Yeah, Tyson. And I was actually having a really deep discussion with some people the other day about at what point should society forgive a man if he's paid his dues. You know what I'm saying? And somebody brought up Mike Tyson as a cultural icon.
But OJ.
You know what I'm saying? Well, see, I don't know. See, murder has no statute of limitations.
Also, he never, think about this with OJ.
So it's kind of like
he never went down for murder criminally, only civilly.
Dude, yeah. So you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, we all know. And so I think OJ will never live it down because that's the ultimate sin, right? That's the ultimate crime, is depriving somebody else of their life and their ability to make it through this world. But
I definitely agree. Murdering your wife's a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
How about this? I'll go on the record and say I haven't forgiven O.J. Simpson for doing that.
Yeah.
I haven't forgiven O.J. for going by. But anyway, I want to get back to what we were talking about before we get off talking about some other stuff. Someone brought up the Alyssa Milano thing. So how should we do this? Too late. We're doing it this way. So here's Alyssa Milano posted a clipped out 3-minute bit of a podcast she did, I believe, where she talks about why she's remained largely silent on the Joe Biden allegations. There is some, I guess we'll walk it backwards. Here's Rose McGowan's response to it.
You go, Rose McGowan.
You are a fraud. This is about holding the media accountable. You go after Trump and Kavanaugh saying believe victims. You are a liar. You have always, maybe a lie. You've always been a lie. She backed it up. The corrupt DNC is on the smear job of Tara Reid. So are you, Shame. Now, if those of you haven't heard, we'll play. I'm probably copyright strike makes people going crazy nowadays with this stuff, but whatever. This is, I mean, you want to talk about some baloney? We'll play the clip. Listen to it.
Okay, we'll play it. I want to see it.
I logged on to Twitter, and typically my Twitter experience these days is I go on and I look at what's trending just to see, okay, it's basically a way of telling me what people are talking about. And you were trending.
Right. That's how I do it too.
Yeah. What did you do that you were trending?
So it's actually quite a serious reason, I think. So I endorsed Joe Biden.
Okay, good.
And there have been accusations against Joe about a sexual assault.
Right, and people were saying, "How can you do that?" Because you're.
I have not publicly said anything about this. If you remember, it kind of took me a long time to publicly say anything about Harvey as well, because I believe that even though we should believe women, and that is an important thing, and what that statement really means is, like, for so long the go-to has been not to believe them. So really, we have to sort of societally change that mindset to believing women. But that does not mean at the expense of not, giving men their due process and investigating situations.
She made the due process argument,
and giving, it's got to be fair in both directions.
Oh,
so,
she's a conservative all of a sudden. A due process
about Biden and my support for him. I've known him for a long time, and I did do my due diligence.
Okay, so let's pause there for a second, because as you pointed out, first of all, right away.
Boom.
How about this though? I love the believe all women doesn't really mean, like, I was saying that, but it was kind of crap because really what I meant was believe all women when it doesn't blow back on Joe Biden. That's
as long as they're not a Democrat. Like, let's be honest. This was as long as they're not a Democrat argument.
I love how Andy Cohen, when she talks about, like, I think we should give, like, due process. He's like, wow.
Yeah, that was deep, dude.
It's like, man, due process. Who ever thought of due process in America for anything? Oh, my God. It was. And there's more. We'll play the rest of the clip. I just wanted to pause that for a second.
Okay.
I love that. I mean, we can sum up her stance, basically, though, right there. Believe all women. It means, like, Dude, it means, like, believe, like, you tell you what, when it's useful, then it means believe all women. When it's not politically useful, then it means it's an idea, it's a meaning, it was a spirit. I don't know what she was talking about there. I thought that was hilarious.
It's really funny to me how Hollywood liberals, as they're called, I guess, in the colloquial tongue, become super conservatives when a couple of things happen. One, when their movie gets censored. Oh, Hollywood was the biggest free speech advocates when, what was that North Korean movie was censored by Sony?
Well, not anymore, though. Now actors and directors go out of their way to censor their films on purpose so they can air in China to make more money. They don't care about that anymore. They got over it.
Yeah.
Well, once they found out that the Chinese do business that way, they're like, well, that's how they do business, man. Chinese government does that way. Hey, watch I don't know if you guys remember the Transformers series. At the end of the mainline Transformers, not Bumblebee, but the end of like the mainline Transformers films, all of a sudden it was like they're in China, like every 20 minutes a movie, because movies did great in China. I mean, I remember personally, and gamers out there might know this. You're not allowed to have like skeletons and ghosts in China from video games and stuff. A lot of games get censored. They get the spooky skeletons removed because it's a no-go in China. They do that stuff all the time. Hey, watch so many movies. It's for copyright reasons. They couldn't show Christopher Robin in China, the movie about Winnie the Pooh or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's how they make fun of, like, we called Trump the Orange Man. They call Yi Winnie the Pooh, and he gets mad. So no, trust me.
Yeah.
Hollywood, they love censorship. They love it. They're like, how many more hundreds of millions of dollars do we make for cutting that scene? That's why pretty soon actors are going to start staring straight at the camera and say, China's the best in the middle of the movies, because they're like, how many more millions do I get for saying that? It's a big market. It's big, but yeah, no. There was maybe a time when they cared about silencing. I remember, do you remember basketball? Remember that? How do basketball players feel about, not all basketball players, how does the NBA feel about censorship in China? Remember that controversy?
Yeah, dude. I remember that.
When LeBron James came out and said, like, look, man, we're being too hard. Here's the thing, too. I think it's a great moment right here. I'm a huge LeBron James fan. I'll defend him almost to the death on almost everything. When LeBron James went up there and he's like, well, like the Chinese, we have to like basically said, like, I make a lot of money there, so I'm not going to be critical of China. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, bad stuff might be happening there, but hey, who am I to say? Who am I to speak about? Whatever, LeBron. I'll call him out for that, but I don't know. Sorry, trust me. Hollywood loves censorship now because it makes them a boatload of money.
So, you got to tell me, how is this full Karen? How is it full Karen and not just regular hypocrite?
I mean, first of all, there's more of the clip to run, by the way.
Well, let's hit it. Let's hit it.
So we'll run the next few minutes. Ready? Okay.
Because part of it was that, and the article that sort of stood out to me was that Time's Up decided not to take the case.
Oh, interesting.
And so,
that
citing
was
what? Their
to you.
501c3.
That meant, well, maybe there's more to this story here.
Right. I did my work and I spoke to Time's Up, and I just don't feel comfortable throwing away a decent man that I've known for 15 years.
Yep.
In this time of complete chaos without there being a thorough investigation.
Yep.
I'm sure that mainstream media would be jumping all over this as well if
we weren't in a pandemic. If there was more credible, if there was evidence that was.
If they found more evidence or through their investigation. So I'm just kind of staying quiet about it. And because I'm staying quiet about it,
you were getting dragged on Twitter by Bernie Bros.
Right. They're calling me hypocritical for and saying that I'm a fake feminist and all of this stuff, and I'm still trying desperately to stand back and be sort of objective about this, because I don't want this to, I sent the Me Too tweet over 2 years ago. I never thought that it would be something that was going to destroy innocent men, right? Like, we don't want that to happen either. So
by
we have
innocent,
to
she
find
means
this balance
Democrat.
in the Believe Women movement, and also giving men their due process, and realizing that we're destroying lives if we publicly don't go through the right steps in order to find out if an accusation is credible or not.
Okay, so there we go. That's I will say one thing though. Again, you know what? I'm being way too fair today, but there is something to say. What if? I'm just being fair, because everyone deserves to have their side represented. What if, she's being kind of honest, and she doesn't want to be 100% honest. She's just kind of saying, like, I've kind of realized some of those things I had said in the past were over the line, as far as, like, I'm not actually going to stick by that morally. No way, no how. It's way too strict for me. So now I'm trying to kind of, like, admit that perhaps I had gone too far. I'll give someone leeway for that, but it does make it look really, really stupid when it was. How about this? I don't know about you guys, but I have a pretty good memory. I remember all the way back in, God, when was this? This was basically the distant past. I remember all the way back in December of 2019 when Alyssa Milano backed out of a Yang fundraiser, citing alleged misconduct against an unnamed campaign aide. Now, again, I'll be fair to Miss Milano here again. She, by the way, shout out to Ducky
She's
Hodges.
not being fair to anybody else, but sure.
Super chat said, I think I love her. Hi, guys. Missed y'all. Thank you, man. Welcome back. What up? Maybe she was given some info. People reached out to her directly. I would feel a little bit weird if no one reached out to her directly. She's a very high-profile Joe Biden supporter and a big-time, it's almost like this club of, it's Me Too and the other organizations. Almost like everything. It's become some kind of insular social club, and for whatever reason, this Tara Reid she's not allowed in it. So it's like, sorry, you don't get to sit at the cool kids table. We're gonna shun you. But no, I remember. Let's hear some of the reasons why Alyssa Milano backed out of this hearing, Jane. Let's hear it. So
well, she mentioned it herself. She said she had called the Time's Up office, and they had said, we're not pursuing it. And I looked into this. Time's Up said, we're not pursuing this claim because of our 501c3 status.
I don't want to get involved in politics.
And you lose your 501c3 status if you are attacking or endorsing a specific candidate. Yes. Yes.
It's happened? You can find cases of it
happening? Yeah, absolutely. It's a severe tax code violation. That's why there's a difference between a 501c4 like the NRA.
Tax codes? Oh, hold on. So you can
if a
run
501
that for 11 months, right? And then once tax season comes around, they'll hit you. But you can do like a whole election season.
Oh, yeah. You could.
That.
Well, somebody
run
could file
fraudulently for a whole election season, right?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the big problems and part of the reason why the 501c4s were getting clamped down on, because they were forming and dissolving during election seasons. That's a totally different topic for a different day. But anyway, it's a tax code violation for a 501c3 to endorse a specific candidate or measure, because you know what else are 501c3s in America, Cody? Religions.
Cool.
So like the Catholic Church can't come out and say, I endorse Barack Obama, or we endorse for president Ivanka Trump in 2024, or whatever the next election is, right? They can't do that. They can endorse values, they can endorse principles, so on and so forth, but they're a 501c3. Now, they didn't have a problem throwing Kavanaugh under the bus, though, which, though he wasn't a candidate, he was an appointee.
Well, how about this? Well, why don't
so that's hypocrisy right there. Hypocrisy right there. They let those hashtags fly with Kavanaugh.
Yes.
So
it is. You know what? You know what's crazy? I would definitely say it's indeed what they did was hypocritical. I would definitely agree that was indeed a hypocritical move from them. But I want to speaking of hypocrisy, I want to get into what Alyssa Milano was talking about, like I said, way, way, way back, like 5 months ago. Alyssa Milano backed out of a, by the way, it's the kind of thing too. It's not like Alyssa Milano was part of it. I would say fairly, as far as political fundraisers, a fairly high-profile political fundraiser with Terry Hatcher and herself, and she publicly backed out and made some big public announcement about why she did it. Here we go. Milano said the allegations were not appropriately addressed. So here we go. The allegations were not addressed appropriately, whether or not they were true or not. I've heard conflicting behind the scenes stuff. I'm not going to get into all that, but I want to make sure this is the right Milano quote in it. Here we go. She says, Andrew Yang is a good man with progressive, smart, interesting ideas. And to be clear, no allegations have been made against him personally, but this issue is too important and too prevalent. The buck stops at the top. Now, apparently, this issue isn't too important and too prevalent when it's literally Joe Biden himself being accused. And by the way, you know a word I haven't heard used in this thing in a while? It's a word that, if you chart the Google trends, it probably goes like this. I haven't heard anyone call Biden credibly accused. Don't know why not. I don't know what makes the accusation against Biden non-credible. I really don't. Honestly, I've read into him. I will admit this Tara Reid individual seems kind of interesting, but hey, man, tragic things happen to interesting individuals as well. It doesn't rule it out. So I don't know. I'm just saying it's very weird. I don't know where the buck. I was joking on Twitter before. I mean, maybe she thinks the buck stops with Jill Biden. That's where the buck actually stops.
Oh.
Joe just kind of does what he says because I don't know how that doesn't apply to here. I don't know how Andrew Yang allegedly not handling allegations correctly is somehow bridged too far. Sorry, I cannot appear. I actually have to go public and announce why I can't do this. But straight up accusations against the man himself. Well, me and Joe Biden go back many years. He's a great man, Joe Biden. Believe all women means like, well, we should believe him more often, just not in cases like this one. As you brought up, the Cool Kids Club kicked her out. Sorry, you don't get us to represent you. All of a sudden, we're worried about our 501c status because we totally don't like to get involved in politics.
So, it's really kind of funny. This is where my mind went. You said when the buck stops here, I was thinking Joe Biden is so old. He's actually old enough to remember when bucks were on the gold standard, dude.
Yeah, probably.
Like, holy smoke. I didn't realize that.
Joe Biden's older than the atomic bomb.
Yeah,
you understand that? He's older than the atomic bomb. Man.
He's older than the gold standard. This brother is ancient, man. And I gotta tell you, I think that Joe Rogan anti-endorsement is just a nail in the popular man's coffin, man.
Hold on. I got a question for you.
Oh, dude.
I got a question
for you. It is, man.
I want you to explain to me who this man or woman is sitting at home doing whatever. And they're like, I might vote for Joe Biden, but I'm going to tune into Joe Rogan today. And now that Joe Rogan has said that he would vote for Trump over Joe Biden,
I'll tell you why.
I kind of feel like I would also vote for Trump over Joe Biden. I'll tell you what. Tell me who that individual is. Who is the Biden voter? Who's the Joe Rogan watching fence sitting Biden voters? That's like, well, the Joe Rogan quarter endorsement of I don't like Biden. I guess like the only other choice is like, oh, I'd won him over. No, I think Joe Rogan's a great study. Would confirmation bias be the word, right? Whenever Joe Rogan says the thing, I mean, I saw for example of that with the Yang Gang, right? He has him on, brings him on. Oh, it's good. Then now all of a sudden Joe Rogan's Joe Rogan, and he says that weird stuff where he's like, oh, Andrew Yang wants to like tax meat. That's dumb or whatever, and people got mad at him for it. Joe Rogan just says random stuff, and it's like wherever Bernie Sanders is an even better test of it. Bernie Sanders is like Joe Rogan endorsed me, and then it was like he was hammered with the Rogan endorsement as a negative thing. So
this is why I think what I said, and I think what I said because I think there's a lot of people out there that already don't feel comfortable with Joe Biden, and they haven't really been able to articulate why. Or get themselves off the hook. There's been a guilt involved or a sense of duty. It's like, I'm a Democrat, so I got to vote for him. My grandfather's that way. He's been a lifelong Democrat. Okay, he was born in the 30s, from a family in the South that embraced the Conservation Corps, the whole 9 yards. All right, and so he's been a lifelong JFK Democrat, shall we say? I think his first vote that he cast was for JFK, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, no, actually, it was pre-JFK. My father's first memory was the assassination of JFK as a kid. So anyway, my grandfather's that way. In many conversations, he says, I don't really feel comfortable the way my party's taken a turn. And he said that in the past couple of elections, but ended up voting for the Democrat nominee anyway because he's Democrat.
What is Joe Rogan talking about?
I think the more prominent people that go out there and articulate why they don't feel comfortable with them, and despite their affiliation, generally perceived as a Democrat, aren't going to vote for him, it lets other people that feel the same way think, okay, cool, so I don't have to either. It's like the reverse of, hey, if they're not jumping off the cliff, then I don't have to. You know how your parents used to say, like, well, if somebody else jumps off a cliff, are you going to do it too? Well, if everybody's jumping off a cliff in a herd, you're kind of like, well, I'm with the herd, you know?
I don't
but if
know,
somebody actually stops and says, wait, I'm not going to jump off the cliff,
I don't
then
know
somebody else might feel empowered to say, you know what, neither am I, because that other person didn't.
I don't know the Biden supporter who's watching Joe Rogan and Joey Coco Diaz dropping DMT or whatever on his podcast and being like, oh, I still think the Democrat. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe call me crazy. Maybe I misunderstand. I just feel like Joe Rogan's the kind of guy. It's like I wonder who goes to Joe Rogan for their political compass and has somehow been on Joe Biden up until this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if Joe Rogan's influential to you politically, you probably don't support Joe Biden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hold on. Someone brought up a point, and I want to address it. I address this all the time, and this is, I mean, no disrespect to my libertarian friends out there, but I can never let this go. Someone said, what if the libertarians come up behind and kind of like overtake this, right? This is a quote. This is a video from cspan.org. You can see it right here. It's a fan-created clip from cspan.org of the Libertarian Convention, I believe in 2008? Oh, I think it's the 2016 convention. So we're going to run this clip real quick. It's one of my favorite clips. I want you to, this, in my opinion, is what will hold the Libertarian Party back forever.
The president has no constitutional authority to regulate drugs. That being said, at the state level, I would support some legislation that would stop children from being allowed to purchase drugs and prosecute anyone who would put a child in danger, because I do believe that children do need some protection. Yes, you should not be able to sell heroin to a 5-year-old.
He's getting booed.
And you'll notice there's cheers. It's not like the whole crowd booed him. But the problem is whenever I look at, by the way, is that, no, it looks like John McAfee, but it isn't. Whenever I look into like the legitimate, serious libertarian, like the parties and movements, discussions like that seem to, discussions that make sense to nobody outside of libertarians bog down the party way too much, I feel.
Yeah.
Somebody who isn't a libertarian is like, we're talking about selling drugs to 8-year-olds? Why? Why is this even on the table? And in libertarian, you have people in the back booing him. Like, do you hear how deathly silent it got in the room when he's like, well, I mean, like, I think we should have some federal regulation on drug free. Boo. I mean, I don't know. I just, there's too much stuff like that that's holding the Libertarian Party back, in my opinion. No problem. Like, hey, I hate the government more than anyone. Trust me. I feel you guys. It seems these kind of discussions, like age of consent discussions will come. Something weird will come up and they'll like be like a big thing for libertarians. Like, guys, you got to save the exactly how free should we allowed to be discussions for not, like, I don't know. It's a little bit jarring to Americans when they see discussions like this. It's just my opinion. It's the like, obviously I think that you can have a freedom party, but when it's we're starting at in my America, a 9-year-old can buy heroin if he wants to. What the hell? He's 9 years old. He could die for his country, right? Because in our country, you can join. You know what I mean? It just starts getting crazy. And I'm not trying to strawman libertarians because this is the extreme. But these extreme discussions and arguments come up, I think, too often in the mainstream for libertarian politics. So it's hard to get off the ground because you got people like. And here's the problem: the Freedom Party is going to attract every bozo in the world. The guy who wants to sell drugs to 9-year-olds, he's going to be attracted to libertarian. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's kind of it's part of the problem. How many, you know, I guess nowadays we call them cartoons and TV shows, but I think we used to call them like fables and anecdotes. But how many of them are about that idea? Oh, I'm going to set up a place with no rules. There's a great episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they do that. It's like in the bar, there's no laws. And then immediately people start coming in and breaking rules that they're like, well, I kind of want to enforce this rule, but I guess if I'm not going to be hypocritical, we won't enforce any rules. And it leads to, as I'm sure you can understand, all kinds of issues. But I don't know. That was a little bit of my rant, but because I want to see more and better for the Libertarian Party. But this is like a few years ago at the freaking convention, and they're talking about if there should be it's not talking about should marijuana be federally legal for people the age of over 21. Yeah. It should 9-year-olds be allowed to buy heroin. It's just, those are the extremes that I think take over sometimes.
So it's actually kind of funny. We got some comments here in the chat. Emerald Miner gives a big shout out to Gary Johnson. You know, Gary Johnson wasn't so bad as long as he was remembering his geography. That what is Aleppo was just brutal.
I know. Like, yeah. I guess. Hey, he's too concerned about American freedom. I guess, but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Like-
Actually, if he would have made that argument and just said, "Look, I'm a domestic president. We need to get out of all foreign wars and
I'm a
places,"
domestic
that would that might have been better than just
that'd be way worse.
Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Emerald Miner says had to do a presentation on libertarians and AP government. Oh, so this must be a high schooler. Rock on. How did that go, Emerald Miner? And Marianne H says there's liberty and then there's anarchy. I don't know. It's difficult to see what the difference between
that's why you
liberty
have
and anarchy is.
the NAP, right? Is
They're
it the non-aggression
ANCAP.
principle?
Yeah, it's a non-aggression pact. No, I think it's a non-aggression pact of all
Is it-
libertarians.
I've seen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what prevents the anarchy. is
So
the,
Landline 51.
It's almost anarchy.
Landline 51 says I can't vote for anyone perpetuating a trickle-down economy. Oh, you're in the wrong party then. And then Chomsky was a self-described anarchist. Noam Chomsky, I think that's what he's talking about.
No,
Don't
I
know
was talking
that
about
one.
Jeff Chomsky, the other Chomsky. Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the thing
Well,
about anarchists,
Bit9K
though.
also brings up a very good point. Brush your teeth, people.
Very good point.
So that was super deep, dog.
Yeah. Very. But no, I mean, I think I don't know. I feel like it's always easy. It's always easy to be like an anarchist when there's the minority. Once everyone's anarchist, it's a lot harder to be an anarchist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's just like I don't really follow the rules, that's awesome. But when it's like other people aren't following rules to protect me, it starts getting a little bit weirder. You know?
Yeah.
When it's just rules.
It's like
rules,
everybody
I
is
do
happy
whatever
when
I
they
want.
find out I'm Mormon, but they don't want to like obey the rules. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty cool
I
effect
did
you
not
got
mean
going
to do
on there,
that. That
Doug.
was an accident.
That's pretty awesome. So anyway, actually it was funny. I actually just opened up a tab here because we're winding down the we're coming up on the end of our stream here. But I realized there was a tab that we never talked about that you're big time into medieval religious history, you know, and the movements of large of like, you know, the geopolitical times back then.
Cool old stuff that happened, I think is
Cool old stuff that happened. So this is some cool old stuff that happened. Can you name the person that John Calvin had burned at the stake? But the way it went down was gnarly.
John Calvin burns one. No, I can't think of.
Okay,
the
so
Calvin.
I always knew that there was this big black spot on Calvin's, historical record that people are always shoving in the Calvinist face that, oh, he had somebody burned at the stake, right? And if you talk to many Calvinist preachers, they kind of like condemn it, right? Or say, I wish he hadn't done that or whatever. You know, that's their
Wish he
defense of
hadn't
him.
done that.
Yeah, I wish he hadn't done that.
Very
you know?
unfortunate if they're individually burned at the
It's
stake.
just like, you know, they come after Mormons for polygamy. They come after Calvinists for this guy getting burned at the stake. But anyway, when I looked up John Calvin, because I wanted to see when he was born, this came up, and this is gnarly, that Servetus, however you pronounce it, I think it's Servetus, was arrested by Roman Catholic authorities, imprisoned in Vienne. He escaped from prison 3 days later, and on 17th, he was convicted of heresy, quote, thanks to the 17 letters sent by John Calvin, preacher in Geneva, and sentenced to be not burned at the stake. I always thought it was burned at the stake. He was burned with his books. Okay. Burned on a pile of your books. Now, if you're going to go out swinging in history as, you know, an anti-establishment rebel that wrote books against the system, you know, getting burned with your books, that is hardcore.
You know what's funny? That
is hardcore.
I was immediately siding with Calvin, I guess, in this instance. To me, I'm like, that's like a mafia movie. You know, it reminds me of there's actually a movie called King of New York. Very, very cool crime movie. It's not like a highbrow movie, but a fun crime movie. Lawrence Fishburne, Christopher Walken, I think Wesley Snipes as well. And the blonde and an actor, I forgot his name. Anyway, yeah, there's a scene where a guy betrays him for money.
Okay.
And he gets the guy in front of him, and like he has them bring the money in, and like, what do you want to do with them? And he's just like, and he shoots, just like bury him with the money. I'd say that's that kind of move to me, where it's like, what do you want to do with them? Burn him with his books. I don't know. I think it's kind of BA. It's kind of, you know what? I was clowning on Calvinists earlier. Maybe I'll be a Calvinist. Oh, it sounds pretty cool. What did our founders do?
So the brutality with which they execute their heretics.
See, I don't think it's brutality.
Is what attracts you most to the faith.
It's a certain there was a certain what is it, je ne sais quoi behind that just the artistry of it that I think, I don't know, I can get down with that. Hey, world was a brutal place, man. Stuff like in hindsight, you'd be like, wow, but stuff like that just happened back then. It really did. Hey, my boy Jan Hus, he was burned alive as a heretic as well.
Yeah,
He was actually told he was going to be protected too by, I believe, the Holy Roman Emperor until he found out. Yeah, I don't got that kind of power here, dude. Sorry, and they burned him alive. Very unfortunate tale. But hey, you know what? What was the you win some, you lose some. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So Dustin gives a shout out to Ross Perot. Best era of political cartoons in my life. To this day, I think a Ross Perot political cartoon can be recognized at least from 25 feet away. You know what I'm saying? Biggest ears in politics, even before Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying? Just epic political cartoon material right there. Barbara Oval is being the reasonable one of the bunch, saying you have your extremes of all political parties. And Emerald Miner clarifies his position that AP government was 4 years ago. So he's
that was
graduated.
during that convention. No,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is what seems to bog down libertarians when they say that's an extreme, but there's discussions that are always made, because I've been following the Libertarian Party. I'm interested in the Libertarian Party, but it's just whenever it's time for them to have the spotlight on the main stage, there's some things that are, and it's always just kind of any person who's not in the know, any normie, I guess, listen to stuff dude, what are you guys arguing about? And it's hard.
Two things, Cody, that I need to point out. First off, Trev Third says it's very Kafka-esque. You're the second person to dive into the definition of the term Kafka-esque. You know what I'm saying this week? You were just talking. Remember how you said I never understood what the term Kafka-esque meant until I saw a Kafka movie?
Well, it was Orson Welles, I think, did a movie based on one of his things, and then I kind of got the gist of it, yeah.
Okay. And then also a really interesting comment here from Palm Sun says, at Problem Solver Politics, I'm not saying it was aliens, but for sure Carol Baskin fed her husband to her tigers.
Oh, big time.
So are you, if the brutality with which they execute their heretics is what attracts you to the faith, are you team Tiger King or team Carol Baskin? Are you team Mullet,
honestly,
or are you team
my
Tiger
favorite,
Rescue?
Of the people they had on that show, the one who seemed the least insane was the Tony Montana guy. Remember him?
Tony Montana.
There was the guy that claimed they based Tony Montana in part on. He was a Miami drug dealer in the 80s. He went to jail. When he got out, he had a bunch of money.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how.
Yeah.
And he had his own private tiger farm. He seemed the most down to earth of all of them. That guy's probably psycho, but he seemed the least.
Yeah.
He wasn't,
They didn't really cover him beyond.
He wasn't a meth
episode
head
2 or 3.
polygamist. He wasn't that. He wasn't. My favorite's the guy when they're in the interview with him and they're talking to him and they ask him and he's like, look, you want me to say you have to start a cult to own tigers, okay? Everyone tries to get me. It's not true. You don't have to start a cult to own. It's dude, if everyone asked you that, don't you what? Tell you what, until I watched that documentary, never once in my life did that thought ever crossed my mind. I was never just driving one day and was like, oh, you know what? You probably have to have a cult to own tiger farm because it just takes so much upkeep, I don't think you have to have I don't think horse farmers have cults. I think you just have horse ranches, right? But I don't know. I just thought that's all things stood out to me.
Well, horse people are just weird. They're not eccentric. There's a difference between being eccentric and just being weird. You know what I'm saying? And horse people are weird. They'll feed their horses before they feed themselves.
Well,
the best people to rent to, though.
That was the one messy thing about the tiger thing was at the end of the day, the way they described what they were doing, it's that seems to be the only. Here's the thing, though. It does feel to me so much like meth heads. Meth heads will tell you, nah, you don't get it, man. You have to raise the tigers and kill them and have a cult. It's the only way you can raise tigers. That sounds like a meth head line of thinking. I was like, is that really the only way? There's no other way of doing it. We have to do it like this. There's no way to repatriate the. I guess you can't repatriate the.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It just a lot of the stuff they do.
Well, before you kill them,
just,
why don't you introduce them to the wild?
That's what
right?
I mean. It feels like such crackhead or meth head logic, where it's just no, you don't understand. You have to have a cult, and you have to not pay people, and you have to feed them old dirty meat out of the back of a truck, and it's the only way you can raise tigers. The only way, and it's I don't know, man. It kind of sounds like you're just a crazy person. I don't know. I don't know why we're talking about tiger. You know what though? We are 2 minutes away from going an hour without talking about current event. So very good.
Yeah, rock on. Well, also, there's an interesting comment here in the chat that says, and I was looking this up, it says, Seattle
Marco
KO
Rubio
says,
thing?
Yeah.
Hey, little Marco. No way. I believe it.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that Tony Montana guy is somehow linked to Marco Rubio? So I looked it up, and there's a Daily Kos article, and you and I have already clowned on Daily Kos enough that I don't know if I'm ready to start quoting them. But
they're polls. I don't take their polls seriously.
Okay, here's the title: Miami Paper.
Send it to me.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you the link right
I'll
now.
put it on screen. People can see it.
Hashtag copy paste, opening up Discord, and then actually no, hashtag Command C and then Command V. But apparently there's a Miami newspaper that is claiming that there is a connection. And I just sent it to you right now. You got it. And I'm going to read what it says on the screen. Says, Miami paper, Marco Rubio lived in cocaine stash house in 1985.
Okay, but
What's their claim? None of the extreme gun violence in our state ever seems to bother Marco Rubio. We have finally an indication as to why. Oh, so they're saying Floridian gun violence
I like
is
Marco
the reason.
Rubio more now that he lived in a drug dealer's house when he was a kid in the 80s. That's cool. I like
so,
that.
So it says, up until last Wednesday, the big news out in the Florida debate between Marco Rubio and Murphy was Rubio's promise to actually show up for work the time he was reelected or whatever, right? Yet this race has repeatedly focused on Marco Rubio's trouble with honesty, ranging from his lying about his finances, which wasn't really lies, but whatever, about his family fleeing Castro and about his intentions for office trying to cover it up. Now comes new revelation that the Miami New Times discovered reviewing previously unreported testimony and mountain of court papers. Univision learned about Rubio's family ties to the drug trade back in 2011. However, Rubio has consistently denied that he knew anything about it. And from these documents, it says the testimony, part of a 1987 federal case against Rubio's brother-in-law.
Oh, what about this? I want to. You know what? Honestly, want to do a video on this tomorrow? This is fascinating to me now. I want to learn more about this. We have to do more time to research for a video. But do you want to?
Okay, can I finish reading this quote
No,
just as a
please,
teaser?
please.
Okay.
No, keep reading. I mean,
so the
story.
testimony, part of a 1987 federal case against Rubio's brother-in-law, so it means his wife's brother, makes clear the West Kendall residence, where Rubio also worked for months after moving out, was an important hub for the $75 million cocaine operation. Okay, that's a distant relation, but still kind of funny. 2 law enforcement officials who worked on the Cocaine Cowboys era case say they doubt anyone could have lived and worked there regularly without catching a hint of what was up. Oh.
Yeah, he probably definitely knew.
So it's like if you worked on Epstein's Island, you had to have known what was going on. You can't just say, oh, I was just a landscaper, I had no idea. They're saying if you worked there long enough, you knew what was going on. And they're saying that Rubio was one of the guys that worked there long enough.
So you think Marco Rubio working in some, what do they describe this as? A West Kendall residence. I wonder what it looks like. In the late 80s, in the mid 80s in Miami, you think he was just like, no way, drug dealing is going on here. Yeah, I'm sure. Like I said, honestly, I mostly refer to him as Little Marco. That's how I feel about Marco Rubio. I think it makes him cooler.
Dude,
It adds some color.
the gang that ran the house that he lived in, and Marco Rubio sent it as an autobiography. It was part of his, quote, fondest childhood memory that his brother-in-law owned. That apparently the gang that ran the house was run by Mario Tabreu, who killed a federal agent and had him cut up with a circular saw.
They talk about that in the wait, it's a legend though, right?
No, it says who killed. Well, this is Daily Kos. I don't know exactly what their standard is.
Oh no,
of reporting.
The
The man who allegedly ordered a hit on his first wife, she was gunned down with 9 bullets by a 16-year-old who worked for Tabreu. Rough stuff. The Miami New Times. This is like your favorite TV show, but in real life. Come on, what's your favorite TV show, Cody?
Oh, I guess you're right. Well, it's tough. I have a lot. Miami Vice, kind of.
Yeah. What do you mean, kind of?
Every
time I come into the studio, you're watching like some rerun of Don Johnson in an idiotic outfit.
Like idiotic. He looks great in that show. It's kind of like a little bit. If it was Miami Vice, it'd be way
Name
more
one
dramatic.
TV show you like better than Miami Vice. Come on, you can't name one.
Frasier.
More than Miami Vice?
I have to be honest. If you put a gun to my head and said pick Miami Vice, Frasier, Kitchen Nightmares, and those 3, I'd say I can't.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
You'd have to shoot me. If I had to pick between those 3 shows, you'd have
Let
to
me
shoot
get my
me.
gun. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think you'd pick Frasier.
I don't know, man.
Come on, what's your mug right now? Show the audience what your mug is.
I do have a Frasier. But how about this? Hold on a second.
Boom.
Here's my Frasier mug.
Boom.
But my lock screen is Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, dog. So truly, Miami Vice is the odd one out, man.
This is closer to my heart than anything. Is my Gordon Ramsay.
Miami
lock screen.
Vice is the odd man out there.
Yeah, but like
you
I
got
said,
Frasier in the cup.
I do.
You got. I can't show you. Let me see. Where's my phone in here? Oh, dude, Brittany the Shadow. She's my. Yeah, Brittany the Shadow is my phone cover. Oh wait, where is it? Right there? Yeah, Brittany the Shadow. Boom. So that's my Frasier right there. That's my Frasier. So anyway,
No, I have Gordon Ramsay in my phone, not Kelsey.
I don't know. Do you
Grammer.
think he knew, dude? Do you think Marco Rubio knew?
Yes, he obviously did, and I think it's cool. I I think I like Marco Rubio now more than I did before.
You like him now more than ever? Do you think he should have gone a little more gangster on Trump?
Well, no. It's like
He's
same
like,
thing.
"I'm
Like
gonna give him the
JFK's
deal,
family
but he
was
cannot refuse."
JFK's family was mob. Ran with, a lot of people ran with that. I don't think Donald Trump was in the mob. He definitely worked with them. He was in real estate and construction in New York City. He definitely dealt with the mob in the 80s and 90s. So.
Dude,
I always think it's cool.
I'm going to contact the office.
It's like when George Bush got like a DUI high in cocaine or something when he was a kid. Part of me like, cool. Nice. That, had some character to him.
Jeez.
It's a lot better than Obama was like, I smoked a joint one story. Oh, great, Obama. Wow, you're fucking cool. But
I didn't. But no, didn't he say I didn't inhale like Bill Clinton
I'm just
did?
saying, I would definitely.
And then Kamala Harris was like, but I did inhale. I smoked weed and I did inhale. She made sure that she
I
said
would
she
much rather
inhaled.
they were. I wish, like I said, a great example is what I'm trying to say here is if Mark Rubio came out and be like, yeah, look, in my past, I used to work with like drug dealers. They kill people and stuff. Crazy times. That's why I got myself out of it. That's why I'm in politics. Like, they pitch me that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. Cool. That's a good story. That's a story I like to hear. Not I sat on my hands and went to school for 30 years and never did anything with my life. I'm not sure I'd be like, nah, I did crazy stuff. My life was at risk. I made, mistakes, but now I'm ready. I don't know. I guess this kind of goes full circle. You're talking about people being forgiven. Oh, by the way, Chupacabra 22, welcome to Pop. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, I think it goes back to that. Like, where I think as long as you didn't literally murder someone or do something else very, very bad, yeah, I feel like back in my day I did wild, crazy stuff, and now I'm in politics. I think that's a really good. I don't know. I think it's a good story. I like to hear it. If Marco Rubio was like, honestly, when I was a kid, we used to work with some people who used to work with some people who did some things, and but that's why we do better stuff now. I don't know.
Okay, so my only thought here is, could Marco Rubio, like, you like him more because he went gangster?
Him go gangster.
Well,
I think
just
it
because
adds to his character. It adds
to his character. Are there enough people like you that it could now be kind of like a thing? Because, like, for example, Donald Trump got up and when confronted about his donations to endless amounts of Democrats and all the pictures that he took with Hillary Clinton and with, John Kerry at his wedding and so on and so forth, he said, I'm a corrupt part of the system. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I know how the system works. I know it's corrupt. And he was able to turn the argument on its head and say, I'm here to change the system because I know how corrupt it was because I was one of those big fat donors. Right? So only I am capable of, quote, draining the swamp because I know who the swamp things are. Okay? Just like Al Capone famously in his first press conference, when confronted about having organized a hit against a police officer, he said, why would I organize a hit against a police officer who was on my payroll? And he just openly to the press admitted that he had police officers and government officials on payroll.
Or at least want people to think that.
Or at least, okay. Do you think there's a way that Marco Rubio could be like, look, I know how to rid the streets of drugs because I used to mow lawns for freaking drug dealers as an 8-year-old man.
There we go. Yeah, that's what it's less that makes me qualified and just more, it adds background to the depth of your character. It explains why you're here. Because I have to admit, I look at some people's backgrounds, and even Andrew Yang's time in business, I like a little bit, but even for Yang, but I liked his business time. The fact that he had like a couple failed businesses that didn't work, and then he had some success, and then he did a couple things, that's what I want. People that are just kind of like, well, I went to college, and out of college, I worked in the office for a senator, and then I was in the senator's office, and then it's like, wow, why? I guess like they know how Senate works, but it's like you have no real life experience that matters. It's like when people say military experience is important to them, I think a lot of them, it's just like, I'd like to know this person did something. Did they ever travel the world once? Did they, you know what I mean? Some of these people, like, there are people, literally, that was their career. School to clerk's office to elect, and it's like, what? I don't know. I would rather someone who was like, I would rather someone who in their early 20s was literally in prison, who reformed after that run, than somebody who spent that time just going to just interning. Got out of college and I interned with the senator for a couple of years. It's like, no offense to that, but it's like, if I want
you
someone
want the
with,
school of hard knocks, not the
like
school of poli sci.
I want some real world experience. There's something to be said about the experience you get from experiencing things in the world. There's something to be said about that. I don't know. And I think that that gets pushed to the side way too much, where it's like, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain it, but just some sense that they've gone out there and done something somewhere. Just, I always worked in politics my entire career. To me, that makes you less qualified than I recently got in. It's not like baseball, where I didn't play baseball until I was 25. It was like, yikes, you didn't play baseball until you're 25? It's a little bit different. Like, when you're like, I honestly wasn't involved in politics until I was 37. I'd be like, awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds like someone spent 37 years of their life focusing on things that
Sounds
weren't
like Andrew
pointless
Yang.
politics. Kind of, yeah. That's why I like Andrew Yang. Is because by the time he started running, he had been in the world doing business things, sold a business, had businesses fail. Something. It's he wasn't he didn't quite backpack through Nepal, but you know what I mean. He did something.
Yeah. Although backpacking through Nepal, I think would easily substitute for at least 20 credits in college. I think there should be an internship of backpacking through Nepal.
Yeah.
So, hey, first off, we got to give a shout out to our new member, Chupacabra 22. Bienvenidos a Problems Over Politics. Did that sound cool?
Yeah.
All right, you like that? Okay, so Chupacabra 22, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining the channel. If any of you guys want to join, it's actually a really awesome way to make sure that we stay corporate sponsor free and keep bringing you all this video content without any filthy lucre involved. You know what I'm saying? Would you scowl at the term filthy lucre? You don't like that?
I don't recognize it.
Oh, filthy lucre? That was like the old medieval term for somebody who had taken money and sold out. Like before we called it selling out, they called it filthy lucre, and it corrupts the soul. That was the old term. Anyway, we're dwindling to an end here. If any of you guys have any super chats you want to get out of the system, anything crazy you want me to say in Spanish, any burning desires that need to be.
One last thing.
Oh, hit your last thing.
Someone brought this up. I think it's actually not a bad point. Where they're speaking about for those of you who don't know, Donald Trump before he was elected, is a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. Donald Trump did win a WrestleMania match against Vince McMahon. And someone brought up something interesting. He said that Trump used his where is it? He stole Dustin. There we go. He stole Vince McMahon's business model for politics. In a big way, he kind of did. I mean, the like, I think it's very him. I'll never forget. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I'll never forget about this thing ever. It was one of his last 2 or 3 rallies on Election Day in Florida. He lands his private jet in a runway. He walks down like, I don't know, a 200-yard red carpet into a freaking aircraft hangar. Rock music plays. He gives like a 20-minute speech, and he walks back down like the 200-yard red carpet to fly his private jet out of there. And yeah, I think that was this mass spectacle. It's almost like I don't know how to put it into words, but it's like if you listen to Vince McMahon, the announcer, and Vince McMahon, the character, it's like this flipping of the switch. And yeah, I think Trump did actually lean very heavily on what Vince McMahon did to really blow WWE up and really, I mean, honestly, he's basically Hulk Hogan. Donald Trump, he doesn't say brother, but he's big orange guy.
We're going over, brother.
He's got the same skin color, basically.
We're going over, brother.
Well, not even I am, brother. But just instead of tell you what, brother. He has that weird. I don't know. I definitely think it's a great. That was a great point someone made. He really has borrowed a lot of that 80s WWE boom Vince McMahon and really kind of just brought it into his bringing that was a big thing Vince McMahon did too, is bring the celebrity to it, really bring that air of celebrity. Speaking of, Donald Trump was at like the first WrestleMania to help bring the celebrity to it. That was funny. He kind of brought that back, making his events really feel like it was like you're coming to see a celebrity, not a politician. Is that good? No. However, I think that's interesting because it worked, man. And it's because wrestling is everything. I'll tell you one thing. Once I really learned about how professional wrestling works and how they actually what it is. And I'm not saying it's like deep and complex, but it's like, when I watch NASCAR, like I don't get it. It's like, well, they got to kind of like, know when to pit stop and there's some strategy to it. And I'll be like, okay, I still don't get all of it, but like, I'm not going to like call baloney. Like I understand the notion of having to prior to pit. Same thing. There's a lot of like weird psychology and crowd pleasing in wrestling. It's all politics, man. Watching those debates, I'm like, this is literally they're literally going through the same psychology wrestlers try to go through to get they don't call it heat or pop. Same idea, just reactions from the crowd. That's all wrestling is, people in a ring getting reactions from the crowd while lying to them and being fake and phony the whole time. You think politicians go in front of crowds, just lie to them and be fake and phony for attention? I don't know.
Yeah.
Bit of a rant, but yes, that was a great observation, Dustin.
Hey, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, that was a solid 9 out of 10 rant, bro. Like, that was pretty good. Might need to yell a little bit harder next time. Just don't clip the audio. You know what
I
I'm
wasn't
saying?
yelling.
I know. That could have made it better. That would have been like 10 out of 10, you know? So anyway, it's actually been really fun hanging out with you guys. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. Cody is like a machine on that Twitter machine. I'm the one that curates the Facebook and the Instagram profiles. That's why they're not as cool, but they are consistent. Anyway, make sure you follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1 and look for the audio of most of these streams and most of these shows on your favorite podcasting platform. Make sure you check out our daily videos on YouTube. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.